welcome to Real Shame. It's a bi-weekly, but in this case, tri-weekly podcast where we review movies from our movie blind spots or our movie list of shame. I'm Adam.
I'm Andy.
And we're jumping in with a little bonus episode for you guys. Kind of breaking out of our normal context. But, you know, with everything that's going on, there's been a lot of movies released on video on demand. And we've always talked about kind of reviewing newer movies and putting those on our channel. So we're going to drop one on you guys. And the movie we're interviewing today is...
I don't know if we're interviewing it. But
interviewing, yeah, reviewing.
Reviewing is Onward. Pixar's Onward.
Pixar's Onward.
Yep.
I have something for you from your dad.
It's a wizard staff.
So Onward is the new Pixar movie. It's directed by Dan Scanlon. And Dan Scanlon previously directed Monsters University for Pixar. Did you see Monsters University?
I saw Monsters, Inc., but not Monsters University.
Okay. So we know there are some Pixar movies that are on your movie blind spots.
Quite a few.
And Onward's no longer one of them.
Right.
So what Onward is, and we're going to spoil it a little bit, but Onward's a story about two brothers that have lost their dad prior, and they found this staff that their dad left for them, and using that staff, they can bring him back for 24 hours. But something goes amok. Something goes wrong in conjuring him back, and just a pair of legs are conjured back. So it's kind of a journey that they go on of trying to find a way to conjure back their father before they lose him again for 24 hours. Is that, you feel like that's a pretty accurate?
Great assessment, yes.
Great.
Yes.
So before we jump into what we thought about the movie, what were your thoughts like looking at the trailer or prior going into the movie?
I mean, it looked fine to me.
Yeah.
It was not, I mean, as we know, as we pointed out, I definitely have a Pixar deficiency. I feel like I just have an animated movie deficiency overall. But as far as the preview went, I thought it looked okay, but it was not a movie that if COVID-19 and all that stuff was not going on right now and movies were still playing in theaters, it's not one that I would be like, hey, I got to go see that. I probably would have just waited to stream it.
It's no Coco.
It's no Coco, right? It's not. It's no Coco, which we did see in theaters.
Yeah, we did. That's why I brought it up.
Right, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it looked okay, but I was not jumping for joy or anything like that to see it.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. It just didn't look that interesting, and there's a lot of elements in this movie that I usually find interesting or elements that I like about these kind of movies. But for me, it seemed really plain.
Yeah. And
I don't know about you, but I'm just kind of at my max Chris Prattness right now. Like I'm kind of over him, just as I don't know, like it just. I got too much, in such a short amount of time. So I kind of was just not looking forward to, another movie where he's kind of acting in it and stuff like that. So I wasn't really looking forward or wanting to see this movie, even though on paper it seemed like a movie that I would probably really enjoy.
Right.
So what are your thoughts of Onward?
I liked it. I thought it was I thought it was a cute movie. I enjoyed it. I thought the story was fun and good, and I thought that the ending was very, very moving. Yeah. Honestly, I did. What did you think?
I thought it was a good middle of the road Pixar movie.
It's no Coco.
It's no Coco.
I will say that. I thought Coco was better.
I definitely like the ending a little bit, but I feel like I kind of saw that coming. And, the Pixar movies are known for, like, tugging on your heartstrings. You have Up and, Toy Story 3 and all those movies that are just kind of Monsters, Inc. Yeah. They kind of pluck those heartstrings.
Right.
And so I kind of knew this was coming, and it didn't have that emotional pull that I thought it would have. If, like I said, if I was reading it on paper, or if someone told me about it, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's definitely going to move me or make me cry or whatever,
Yeah.
So I kind of saw the ending going, and it felt, there wasn't a whole lot of surprises for me in the movie. It just felt like what you call a typical Pixar movie. And the really great Pixar movies, I feel like they kind of elevate, and there are surprises and that kind of stuff. And they fit into like the grander mold of a Pixar movie, but it's not. But there's still room for surprises. And this one just felt like your standard, like, stereotypical Pixar movie with not a lot of surprises. Does that make sense at all?
It does. What other Pixar movie would you consider to be just a typical kind of Pixar movie, middle of the road? Or I have a list here actually, because I was like, oh, what are some Pixar films?
So I mean, I can tell you ones that didn't work for me are Monsters University. Actually,
Okay.
I thought that was not as didn't hold a candle to Monsters Inc. No offense to anyone who made that, or I know behind the scenes it takes a lot to do that kind of stuff. Ratatouille didn't work for me. I know that worked for a lot of people. And I know Brad Bird came in to kind of save that at the end. And, you know, it's atypical for me for not to like a Brad Bird movie. That said, Incredibles 2, not my favorite. I mean, I've seen most of the Pixar movies. I think the only ones I really haven't seen is Good Dinosaur. And then I haven't seen Brave, but that's a Disney movie, not a Pixar movie.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that's correct.
I don't know. I got this from a list of Pixar films.
Yeah. And I haven't seen the Cars trilogy. So what I'm at, and you know, actually, I was gonna say Chris Pratt in the movie actually isn't as annoying as I thought he was.
I was wondering what you were going to say about him.
But I think they tried to change the trope a little bit by making the older brother less mature than the younger brother. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, I can appreciate that, but you know, it wasn't, you know, it still felt tropey the whole movie to me. And because I like RPGs and I like Dungeons and Dragons. And I like adventure movies, and I feel like this movie actually borrows a lot from Indiana Jones and the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, especially with the spoiler alert, with him crossing the ravine with his magic shoes. Oh,
definitely, yeah.
And then also when they're in that corridor, and then remember it chops. The buzzsaw comes and then like knocks off the stuffing on top of the dad. So there are some elements of like Indiana Jones, and you kind of have to, you know, after Raiders and all those movies came out, kind of pull from that because they're all kind of pulling from the same source material and stuff. But I can definitely see like those fingerprints on these movies.
Was Indiana Jones ever chased by a gelatinous cube?
He was chased by a boulder.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so yeah, and a little bit of Blob, I guess, with the gelatinous cube, right?
Yeah, right. No, I thought it was fun. Again, I again kind of looking through these Pixar films. I've seen a lot of them I have not seen, and then they're out of their little franchises or whatever, like the Toy Story and the Monsters Inc. And I haven't seen any of the Cars. Yeah. I haven't seen all the Toy Stories. I haven't seen I've seen Finding Nemo, but I haven't seen Finding Dory. I've seen Incredibles, but I haven't seen Incredibles 2. So I don't feel like I'm a Pixar expert. I did enjoy Inside Out when I saw it. I thought that was a good one. And again, I thought Coco is probably the best one that I've seen. Not the best Pixar movie, but the best Pixar movie I guess that I've seen in a while. I did enjoy Onward. I thought it was a fun movie. I didn't feel like the adults necessarily had a lot to do in the movie. They kind of chase them around and whatnot, but it's all kind of pointless. The mom and the Manticore do come into play at the very end. The cop guy, the centaur horse cop guy, he doesn't really have much to do.
He's there for like comedic effect.
But I would think that with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, because she's the voice of the mom, I thought that she would have a bit more comedic kind of lines and stuff. She's kind of just a straight mom, basically.
I agree with that, but I think a lot of, like, to use television terminology, a lot of Pixar movies seem to be all about that A story, which is about the main characters and doing stuff and following their journey. And I don't remember a lot of Pixar movies where they have like B or C stories going on that are as big. So I do think actually, even though the mom doesn't have a whole lot to do in this movie, when you compare it to other Pixar movies, that character has much more to do than you find from other movies. Like if you think about like WALL-E, you know, you just have WALL-E and Eva. You don't really have any other characters with that.
Right.
You know, if you think about Monsters Inc., you know, you have Scully and you have Mike, and then you have Boo a little bit, but you really don't have anything kind of around there. You have them interacting with different characters, but you don't really have another kind of story or character that you're following. You know, I believe. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, so what else did you think about Onward?
I just thought it was fun. I mean, again, it wasn't earth-shattering, but I watched it on like Saturday afternoon. It was a fun way to spend the Saturday afternoon. And I do want to say the last part which I'm not going to spoil, but the last part that I consider moving, it reminded me of a Twilight Zone episode from the 80s called Paladin of the Lost Hour. Paladin of the Lost Hour, which was written by Harlan Ellison. And again, I don't want to discuss that episode because that would sort of give away what happens at the end of Onward. But if you're familiar with Paladin of the Lost Hour, then it might be spoiled for you. But if you're not, then I highly recommend checking out both of those. Check out Onward and check out Paladin of the Lost Hour.
Spend more time watching these Twilight Zone hour limit episodes. I know I like that kind of concise storytelling.
Yeah.
Like I agree that it is moving, but I feel like since I kind of saw it coming, it wasn't as moving. I don't feel like it sits with, Up, with Toy Story 4, with the imaginary character in Inside Out, Mr. I want to say Mr. Bojangles. It's not Mr. Bojangles.
I don't remember.
So those, I feel like those scenes, those definitely stand out and they're very emotional. For me, The Incredibles, there's some very emotional bits in those. And I feel like those kind of elevate and bring those movies to a higher level in this one. And I can see where they're going. I just wish there was more surprises in this movie than there actually were, if that makes any sense.
I see. Maybe it wasn't, it was, I guess, a little more original to me because I haven't seen as many Pixar movies. Going back and what you're talking about, the kind of the emotional moments in some of these other movies, I don't remember any of them except for Up. Because Up, there's a very emotional moment right at the beginning of the film. But I don't really remember. I really need to rewatch the Pixar movies that I've seen, and I need to watch the Pixar movies that I have not seen. Because I'm so foggy with this. I'm like, who was that? What happened in that movie again?
What do you think of the milieu, like the setting? And I don't know if milieu is the right term, but what do you think of all the setting, like this kind of fantasy setting, but brought to like the present time? And
I thought it was fun. Maybe they could have done a little bit more with that. Obviously, with any Pixar movie or any animated movie, really, they've got little in jokes. Like they go to the Burger Shire, the Shire Burger, or something like that. And the sign says now serving second breakfast, which is a call to Lord of the Rings. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff like that, but they interact with a couple of other cops besides the cop, Centaur cop, whatever his name is, I can't remember. And then there's the little pixies. Yep. But they don't really interact with a whole lot of other people. Occasionally they do.
Yeah, and you have like the unicorns acting like stray cats or raccoons or possums. I guess possums.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I feel like it's kind of wasted. I think it's very clever, like the idea of it, but I do feel like we could have done more. We could have seen more. It was kind of wasted a little bit. I do feel like I was thinking about, him leveling up in spells was kind of interesting. It just felt all very like rote to me. Like it felt like there were good ideas, but they did like the bare minimum to get those ideas across. And they never really thought about, and I think this is a Pixar term, or a Disney term, but plussing it, right? It never felt like they went one step up on it for me in this movie. It just felt like, oh, this is a great thing, let's roll with this, instead of saying, okay, let's start here, but let's figure out where here is, right?
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. And I mean, that being said, and I sound like I'm super negative on the movie, I actually enjoyed the movie, and I think it's one of the better of the Pixar movies. I'd rank it in the middle of all those kind of movies.
Well, maybe they'll have a sequel to it, and they can build out that world some more. Because the movie itself, I guess I've got it pulled up here. It is quick, an hour and 42 minutes. Yeah, obviously including credits and whatnot. But it feels like it felt shorter to me than that. I don't know. So I guess just the runtime alone, they don't have enough to kind of do with the other characters in that world. So yeah, maybe a sequel would help to advance that even further. I don't know.
I agree.
Something like that.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
That's it. So, if you've got Disney Plus, you can watch Onward without paying anything additional.
Yeah, and enjoy it. Send us an email and let us know what you think of Onward. Are we right or are we wrong? What's your favorite emotional scene from Pixar movies? Should we do a supercut and make Andy watch all of them? Send us the email, realshame@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram @realshame.